So in 1986, in the small town of Fostoria, Ohio, Jesus appeared on the side of a soybean oil storage tank. Route 12 became jammed for miles, with excited onlookers flooding the town, hoping to get a glimpse of the big man himself, bearded and cloaked with outstretched arms on the side of a soybean oil storage tank. It's a miracle. Just look at the people. Everybody needs a miracle, said Lois Reed of Fostoria. I think he's telling people that the time is right, said Dulcie Haycock of Bucyrus. Looks like Van Halen, said a youngster. We've all heard these stories. Apparitions of Mary and Jesus and God appearing in the sky, burnt into a field, emerging out of rust stains on the side of a soybean oil storage tank, in potato chips. Did you know that mystical visions and potato chips are like a thing? So many people earnestly reported encountering a religious deity or symbol on their potato chip that the Potato Association of America had to put out an official statement reading, markings or holes on potato chips are usually caused by natural occurrences, not supernatural forces. I did some Googling this week, and I discovered that actually toast and tortillas are other really high-level common visitation places for the gods, apparently. I think I'd heard about toast, not tortillas. When I first heard the term spiritual experience as a teenager, these are the kinds of things I thought of. As well as like the booming voice out of the sky, like that one in Field of Dreams where Kevin Costner is standing in his backyard and suddenly hears, "If you build it, they will come." I wasn't sure that was going to work, but that's pretty good. Apparently, I've got a booming God voice. And just like... I heard an amen. Okay. Okay, lest I keep my hubris in check. I promise I do. Okay. Just like all those reels that capture folks shaking and writhing and speaking in tongues in revival tents, my teenage self assumed that mystical experiences, which is a term I'm going to be using interchangeably today with spiritual experiences, which I'm going to say more about in a moment, I just assumed that these only happen to, well, first, those people. I'm going to be careful about this, but that's what my teenage self thought, those people. And secondly, had to be absurdly big, flashy, and obvious. I concluded that until something like this happened to me, I would quite happily stand on the sidelines, bewildered and, yes, scoffing, which I did for a long time. Don't worry, though. This is not the part of my sermon where I now pivot into me telling you about the tortilla that changed everything. Just and listen in all seriousness now. These kinds of experiences, laughable as many of them are, and as laughable as they were to my teenage self, they do change some people's lives. Like, disrupt them in all the best ways. Accounts of incredible visions and full body experiences that reroute the trajectory of a life. These have been being told about for thousands of years. And whether or not you believe in a God who makes appearances like this, I think we can all agree on our shared human thirst and longing for meaning in this world. And isn't that what's kind of at the heart of all this? I'm looking for meaning in this world that can feel so terribly meaningless. We want to be careful about not being too cynical and judgmental here, lest, oh dear, our hearts become closed to a bit of awe, right? And let us also not lose our sense of humor, because religion and faith can be hilarious. Yeah, laughing in church is good. Yeah. But for most people, big, flashy, booming, improbable, impossible to explain spiritual experiences are fairly uncommon. And in my view, propagating these kinds of narratives as the sole qualifiers of a mystical experience is really unhelpful. First, it keeps us from believing ourselves to be capable of having one, and second, it has us walking by the ones we're already having. So I want to unpack this. What experience are we talking about here? Carrie began this question about awe and imagining earlier, which just could have been really the sermon. But really, what is a mystical experience? Now, some call it transcendence or enlightenment. I think awe is a great word for a mystical experience. Whoa. Like that. That. I'm going to ask for a little bit of audience participation now, so I'm not just standing here talking at you. When I just read some of the joys and sorrows, or when you think back in worship to times where certain joys or certain sorrows are shared, and something happens in here, and then Guy offers that music and people line up to light the candles. Maybe that's you, or maybe you're watching that happen. What do you feel? What is it? You can say it. Compassion, wonder, hope, connection. What is it? Tenderness. What's the other one? Relief. Gratitude. Community. Sorrow. Yeah. Sorrow. Serenity. Empathy. Love. I was going to also have you consider if you've ever, with another person, just let it all out, just undefended, cried out the truth of your heart. Those moments, that feeling, or been there with someone. I feel like these are some of the same feelings that happen. Or certainly in nature. Whoa, open, these are some other words, open, warm, joy, fullness, just no words, tears only. Like that's one for me. When Guy was playing that music, I didn't know why, I just wanted to cry. Why? What was happening? 100% okayness. Just okay. It's okay. So I'm going to say something bold here. These are mystical experiences you've had. So those of you who are like, I've never had a spiritual experience, you have. You have. These are spiritual experiences. The feelings that you just shared or resonated with, compassion, tenderness, connection, peace, warm, joy, no words, just tears, love, okayness. Those are words used to describe profound, powerful, transformative spiritual experiences, where you touch fingers, if only for a second, with that's speechlessness, because mystics call it the ineffable. No words. It's just so big, it's so moving that there aren't even words for it. It's hard for words to capture it. Dr. Robert Foreman, who has served as a chaplain for decades and is also a celebrated religious scholar, I got the joy of participating in a day-long workshop with him just a few weeks ago at the Bethany House of Prayer in Arlington. He conducted 60 long interviews with churchgoers of all sorts, pulled from more than 2,000 patient visits as a chaplain to attempt, just get close to putting his finger on what a mystical experience is, really. And after pooling together all his research and study, he was able to conclude that a spiritual experience tends to feel similar to what you just described, but he puts it this way: all one's anxieties and concerns seem to just drop away. Time seems to evaporate, and you're there, fully there. At these moments, he says, you're expanded into something wide, like stretching out. Maybe the walls of the room around us seem to fall away, or the tears come, or an unexpected, pervasive joy descends. He says that the experiences we're talking about don't come with flashing neon lights. Most are quiet and subtle. The feeling of connection with someone or something, the vague sense that there's something deep happening here. And it does something to you. Disrupts something inside, maybe changes you, but often it's just for a second, or maybe if you're lucky you get 10 seconds, that you feel different and life takes on a different kind of glow, and then we're off to the races again. This is what weekly worship, by the way, is here for. To hopefully offer you a regular landing place for a few seconds of transformative spiritual experience, because it's good for you. And the hope is that you get enough practice here, experience with it, that it spans out into your lives so that you might be attuned to awe regularly. But that's what we're trying to do here. Robert told us this story when we were together about a patient of his who was in the last weeks of her life. She was terminally ill and in tremendous pain and distress. And he visited her one morning, and she said, "Robert, last night I saw God." To which he responded, "Well, tell me about it. I mean, what happened?" She said, "I felt total peace. I was so calm, and I wasn't afraid." To which he asked, "So how'd you know it was God?" "I just felt everything was okay," she said. "My being sick and dying, that everything was okay." That 100% okayness is one of the most common descriptors of a spiritual experience that I've read about. An encounter with God just felt like open, unafraid, and okay. That's it. I think these are experiences that are worth risking things for. Inner peace and okayness, that's worth living for in my book. When we seek for experiences like these, or call ourselves thirsty and longing for them, and we mark them for what they are when we have them and honor them, something does change in us, and it changes our day-to-day lives. You begin to glimpse the wholeness of things, not just the particularities. That's how it changes your life. You begin to feel connected to something big and clear, and you begin to feel more and more in your life that you are on center, not scattered to the wind. That's the gift of this. You know, mystics historically were referred to as eccentrics. It's kind of where that word got really popular, an eccentric, which literally translates to off-center, eccentric. And yet, I would argue, those who orient their lives towards presence and awe and wonder and groundedness, connection, in my book, these are the most centered of all, don't you think? We tend to do this as humans, cast out to the margins the things, the people we most fear. It's heartbreaking. Or who challenge our certainties. We do that too. Some of you might have picked up on the underlying parable in our poem today. The great David White is capturing the mystical experience had by the woman at the well, as told in the New Testament story. You should know that this woman was a Samaritan, which at the time were considered by Jews to be the untouchables and cast out of the circle. They went so far as to believe that if a Jewish person's shadow touched a Samaritan's, the Jew would be contaminated. And if a Samaritan woman entered a Jewish village, the entire village would become unclean. And the parable tells us that Jesus, one of the greatest mystics, eccentrics, on-centerednesses, of all time, he throws all this nonsense out the window. This is classic Jesus behavior. For he was a rabbi, first and foremost, to those at the margins. That is who Jesus was. And he sits down with her at the well, and he drinks from her cup, and she from his, and he listens to her, calls her beloved, and tells her that she will forever be filled with living waters, blessed and holy, he calls her, this untouchable. And she is speechless and thinks, why little old me? How did this happen to me? And all who witnessed it were blown away. Everybody has a spiritual experience in this story that changes the trajectory of their lives. And it didn't arrive through some miraculous, impossible, neon light flashing event, but by a simple exchange of love, compassion, kindness, where fear dissolves and something else takes hold. The same things you just described earlier. But the miracle had come, White writes, simply from allowing yourself to know that this time you had found it. The first tears you shed and the memories you held, as if home again, as if you deserved everything you had loved all along, as if just remembering the taste of that clear, cool spring could lift up your face to the morning light and set you free. My friends, let's risk being thirsty for something more, something different. Let's live our lives for it. Call it hope or peace or presence or love, tenderness, God, kindness. Call it whatever you need to or want. Just let's not be afraid to thirst and long for these things, an experience of on center in all the right ways. And can we please stop letting others decide for us what the spiritual life is, or what a mystical experience means, or who or what God is? We UUs, my dear friends, are stubborn as hell about our liberal leanings and beliefs, and yet we've let millions of people, many of which have been and are morbidly misguided, co-opt, define, center in, and hoard the language of faith and spiritual experience to millions of people's harm. Can we please stop giving them this power? That is my Christmas wish, by the way, this year, for Jesus. For Jesus' sake, can we please reclaim this fluency of faith, this felt experience we're all having? That is what I long for. It is so formidable here. It's life-changing and it's world-healing. And so as you move through this week, as the long nights grow and the light fades, I hope you all will see it as an invitation to quiet down, get serious, and start seeing things differently. Life breaking through with countless moments of awe to tell about and to experience. And my ask is that you make them matter, that you make them manifest, that you lift up thanks for them and ask for more, and that you might orient your whole day for the treasure hunt of theirness and center-inness and heart-burstingness. And also, please, if Blue Boat Home comes booming down out of the sky, or you get a potato chip with a flaming chalice on it, please call the presses so that we can get our good news out there too. Okay? Okay. Blessings to all of you on the journey. I love you.